Us here for this segment is Detective Miller from the Ludington Police Department, as well as Sherry Motcheck from Forward, the human trafficking agency. We have had both of these individuals in the studio before, and the last time that the two of you were in, we didn't go live on Facebook or YouTube, but we are today because you're going to actually be in front of a lot of people coming up on the 26th. So, Detective Miller, welcome to the studio, and thanks for coming in today.
Well, thank you. My pleasure.
Absolutely. And I hear when talking with Sherry that she's not very nervous, but you could be nervous about being on the air. Yes,
I'll be okay.
There you go.
I can handle it.
Sherry, do you think it'd be okay?
He's going to be fine.
All right.
Yeah. He's going to be fine.
Absolutely. And step up to that mic if you don't mind, Sherry.
Sure.
Sherry with Forward. And for our listeners, let's remind them what Forward is about, because I'm telling you, not only the foundation of your group, but the actions that you take are shocking and incredible to help in the efforts of human trafficking, right?
Yeah, so it's called Forward because what we realized is that there's a lot of people that actually want to do something in this fight, but we all just need something to move us forward, to advance the fight. Mm-hmm. And so we found a nonprofit that can come alongside agencies that are already fighting and running a race, and coming alongside them and say, how can we help? How can we get you to the next place?
And when did you start this out?
So this is our third year.
Okay.
Yep.
And there has to have been some sort of moment or trigger or something that said, we got to do this. And I guess if you could elaborate on that, but also, who is we? What is the organization made up of?
We are just a bunch of local, we're from Mason and Oceana counties that we get together. We are just a bunch of volunteers. None of us get paid, but we all have a passion to, move the stakes farther. Mm-hmm. And so we came together, and I, joined up with some ladies and said, do you want to help? And then from that, we got some spouses, and from that, we got, a team started. And so then we did that. But what had spawned it was, I'm part of a team that travels around the country, and we look for missing, exploited kids. Mm-hmm. And I realized that a lot of the kids that we're running after in big cities were actually being trafficked from rural communities like our own. So how do we bring that back to West Michigan and say, not in our town? Our kids are not going to be the ones that we're going to look for in Vegas and Pensacola and Detroit.
And I know you and I had a chance to talk, I think it was about a year or two ago, about this. And one thing that stuck in my mind was there were some moments where you were just like what sometimes we see on TV and such, where you were going in places and getting those teens out of those situations, literally going in to these dangerous spots, right?
Yeah, there's some sketchy places that we've been, to go get the kids. But whenever we do that, we are always with the local law enforcement that help us. We don't go in rogue.
Yeah.
So it's always a great opportunity for us to network with agencies, which is really cool while we're here networking with our local law enforcement here in town, because that's how we are going to advance, is if we all start working together.
Yeah, absolutely. And we were talking last month or the previous month there about the kind of action week that the Sheriff's Department and Michigan State Police, Ludington Police Department, and other agencies performed, and we hope that continues. And somebody that is going to know that is Detective Miller. We don't want that to go away. Is that something that is still part of conversations that you are having?
Obviously, I don't want to get into specifics. But yes, we're not going to stop trying to take care of human trafficking, obviously. And luckily, we can group with Forward, and we can get out there and we can try to be proactive. And we can put on these kind of presentations to try to teach parents the signs, the symptoms, what to look for, and how to avoid having to do this in the first place. Mm-hmm. But yes, we're not going to slow down, of course.
Yeah. If I can ask, and again, I know we don't want to give too many details because obviously there's investigations that go on and such, but one of the questions that I asked at that press conference to the sheriff was, do you think that those actions would have scared some of those pedophiles out there and maybe away from our community and have them scared to stop doing what they're doing? Did you see any sort of not tick up but tick down in some of these cases or some of these incidents at all?
Ooh, that's a hard question to answer.
Yeah.
I would most certainly hope that it would be scaring these people.
Yeah.
Trying to get them to stop their actions.
Absolutely.
That being said, specific numbers and upticks and downticks, I can't speak to that.
Okay. You working with Forward, as Sherry had mentioned a moment ago, from your standpoint, what's the resources that you see that come from Forward to help do your job? What is that relationship like?
Sure. Well, there's a bunch of benefits to working with Forward. The number one benefit in my mind is that she comes with a massive amount of experience with this human trafficking thing. Mm-hmm. We have not done raids where we find missing kids like she has, excuse me, in other states and gone around the country doing this. So learning from her experiences is fantastic. You know, it's a good way that we can help do that ourselves.
Yeah.
She's also providing this training that's being put on. We're bringing people in from around the country, experts in this field that are going to be able to tell people in our county how to deal with this. And it's fantastic. Mm-hmm. And of course, they made a massive donation to the Ludington Digital Forensics Lab last month or 2 months ago. Yeah. And it was allowed us to make massive upgrades to the lab that allow us to get further, and it's great.
What sort of upgrades are you looking at or have progressed in that area? Do you mind sharing that?
Sure. There's hardware upgrades, and there's also some software upgrades. To run the digital forensics lab, it's extremely expensive, and so with their support, we were able to keep it going. We were able to upgrade some of our forensics machines, and I can tell you right now that is helping in our area in massive cases that span the gamut.
That's awesome. It's good to hear. Sherry, I have a question. And I don't know if this is one of those eye-opening questions or not. We always talk about that this happens in our community and this can happen and so on and so forth. Have we, and you don't have to be specific, but I just want to know, has there been incidents where individuals have been either taken away or lured away from our communities right here in Mason, Oceana, Lake, in this particular area? Is it so close to home that it is truly reality? Can you elaborate on that, if you don't mind?
Yeah, so last fall we brought in Say Something school assemblies, and we got into junior highs and high schools in Mason, Oceana County. And from that, we were able to hear from the students of their experiences they were going through. And I can tell you that every single school had a child, at least, that was in some way being lured or used or being there was a prospect of them, being in a bad situation. So some of them we needed to talk to. Some of them we had mandatory reports. Some of them was some things I can't really get into, but I can tell you that every single school had a child that we were able to counsel.
And that leads us to your event that you're putting on.
Yes.
Ludington Elementary, October 26th. What time was it going to start?
6:30.
6:30. And this is an event that you want who to attend. Why are they attending? What do you think that they should walk away with? Okay,
so the beauty about this event, we have a subtitle called Beyond Awareness. There's been a lot of awareness raised over the past few months, especially to realize that predators are actually coming to our community. And we saw that with some law enforcement demonstrations this last summer. But this is not a blanket one-on-one, just a wave top covering of human trafficking. You're actually going to come and you're going to hear from a team of people that have put years of blood, sweat, and tears, hard work, and just discipline to get the Joint Task Force where it is today. We are going to arm parents with resources. We have 100 gift bags ready to go with resources that you can take home. But you're going to leave this event and you are going to realize that the people that you just spoke to are going to get back on the wall again tomorrow and fight and ask themselves, how do we stop this from happening in our community? How do we take one more step forward to keep Mason and Oceana County safe from predators? The hashtag is not in our town because that's what we feel. We have a group of passionate people that have been in this fight for a really long time. And we are passionate to say not in our town, not in our watch.
Have you put on an event like this before?
We did. So when we first started, we did our first community drive roundtable discussion. The Hart School Auditorium put us up down there. That was 2 years ago, and we haven't done one in Mason County, so it just seems like it was time. It's time to do it here.
This is important, and you're going to be there, Detective Miller. What's your conversation going to be like for these parents, for these students? What will you say in front of them?
I'm going to be letting Forward speak for most of it, but my portion will be we gotta make sure that we know what our kids are doing. No phones in the bathroom, no phones in the bedroom, and just more awareness of what your kids know that you may not know.
Okay.
Kids are great with technology. They grew up with it at this point. And so some of them know more than their parents. And so hopefully we'll be able to point out some signs and symptoms of kids that are starting to slide, in the wrong direction, and maybe ways we can help them or prevent that from happening.
Absolutely. Same sort of question, Sherry. And by the way, if the listeners are just joining us, we're talking with Detective Jake Miller from the Ludington Police Department, Sherry Motcheck from Forward, a Human Trafficking Task Force. When you're up there, if you don't mind, I want to give everything away because I think it's important for people to be there and listen to those words and take action. But what are some of those maybe specifics that you would be willing to share with us today?
One of the coolest things is we're going to talk about how to get the community involved.
Okay.
This is super important for us to have this zoned in and specific to our community because it looks very different. Trafficking and exploitation looks very different in rural communities than it does in the big cities. So we're going to really zero in on how do we keep our local community safe, and then how do we get the community involved. So there's some roundtable discussions that I'm really excited about because if we can get, launch the community to help, everybody wants involved in this thing. So how do we activate that? But also we're going to talk about just what it looks like. We're going to talk about things that we see in rural communities that maybe you don't see in big cities. And mostly we just want parents to know that this is a time for you to get the resourcing that you need. And you have a team of people in this community that are fighting for you and for your kids. And however we can help you, we want to do that.
Here's a question for you, if you don't mind. This is what, year 3 for you? 3?
Yeah.
Okay. Have you seen and you noticed if you had to fill out the blank, fill in the blank, you've noticed this in the last 3 years in regards to improvements or awareness or that sort of topic. What's the first thing that comes to mind for you?
The first year was really hard. What I'm noticing more is that people are willing to accept that this actually could be in our backyards.
Okay.
The first year was, this is not a big city. This is not what the movie show Trafficking to be. And it's taken a lot of just forward movement to get into spaces to prove, proof in the pudding that this is actually something that's happening here rurally. So the receptiveness has been great. Like partnering with law enforcement has been great, but it has been a grind to get here. But I'm excited because every time that we get one more agency on board, it's one step closer to protecting our kids.
And what does that footprint look like? Is it just Mason County, or you mentioned Oceana before?
Oceana County, yeah. We've also worked with Muskegon County. We also our task force is now joining up with the regional task force that includes Ottawa, Newaygo, and Muskegon County. We got Mecosta County kind of coming in. So it's starting to spread. We've got people asking, hey, would you come into our community and help us start up a task force? So we're starting to leak out a little bit farther than Mason and Oceana County. We've got Manistee that's kind of knocking on our door. So I believe that we're starting something where West Michigan is going to have a pretty good footprint as far as predators knowing this isn't happening here.
Absolutely. Take us through if somebody is interested in being a part of this. I mean, I think there's a difference between, hey, I want to help, and somebody that you want as, because there needs to be a certain kind of person, right? Because there's a lot of things that you won't share publicly because you just can't. I mean, because of what you go through. Right. Are you looking for people to help you along this process?
Oh, for sure.
Okay, take us through that.
We're also starting to network with some local nonprofits that are starting up. What we are finding is I can only run my lap. Detective Miller can only run his lap. There's a lot of laps in this race that need to be run. So we're looking for anybody that wants to come alongside of us and say, hey, we want to help with X, Y, or Z. So the things that we cannot do is I know it's out of my wheelhouse right now, is to have a safe house or a recovery center. But I know that there's passion in people's hearts to do that. So how does Forward help you to get that done? That's what Forward's about. Forward's about helping people who have a passion to move forward get what they need to do that. And a lot of times it's funding. So we have fundraisers for that. None of the Forward folks are paid. Everything is, we have full-time jobs so we can do this because we believe in it so much. But we want every dollar that's poured into Forward to go right back into our community. And so that's how we help. We're going to move forward by finding people that are in the same race, but maybe have a different lap they're going to run for it.
Are you encouraged about how far you've come?
Yes, I'm so encouraged. Like this last summer, it was just having Jake come on board and say, "Hey, I want to help." So having detectives come alongside and say, "We want to go to the next lap," and us being able to help them, it has been tremendous. It's been tremendous for us.
All right, this is exciting. Jake, I'll leave it to you for the last word about this, and then we'll run down again the date of the event details there. But any other messaging that you want to put out there to the community in regards to human trafficking in the local rural communities like we live here in West Michigan?
Unfortunately, it does happen here, and there are cases. And hopefully, this training we're putting on, families can come to it, they can learn something new, and we can help put a dent in that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it can be exterminated, but let's hope that we can just move that one step forward and make our town a little bit safer and hopefully give some tools to parents to help avoid these horrific situations that Sherry's group and the police around the nation are fighting. So please come to the event. We'd love to have you. We'd love to share a little bit of knowledge with you for about an hour. So that's what we ask, just an hour of your time to come and listen to some tools we have, hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely. It's Thursday, October 26th.
Yep.
That is the date of the event, 6:30, Ludington Elementary, and talking about human trafficking. And it sounds like it's not just, come in and listen. It's come in and interact. Come in and start that action plan to move forward. Then, right?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yep. That's what we're looking for. Just. I think it's important for the community to know that we actually do have a team here fighting for you and your kids, and that's what that's about.
All right, good information. If somebody wants to find additional information about Forward in particular, where are we sending them to?
Yeah, so we've got a website, so it's forwardhttf.org, or our Facebook page. We keep that pretty active with all the events coming up. I know that Ludington Police Department also has our flyer posted on their Facebook page as well. But yeah, there's also an email, info@forwardhdtf.org. If you want any more information, I'm happy to help.
All right, and we'll keep pushing it here at the radio stations at Bomb FM and Hot Country Hits. Sherry and Detective Jake Miller, thanks for coming in today.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank you so much for having us.
Absolutely. It is 9:53 here on 102.7 WMOM.